Okay, in the first part of this video on energy modeling a house in our 3D modeling a house for energy modeling or energy analysis in SketchUp. First, we need to kind of get our heads around the plans of the building we're modeling. So in this case, we're doing a house on 9th Street in La Crosse, and the first floor plan, the first page has the elevations, and I've gone through and read and marked some things up here. So I've noted that the height of the windows above the first floor is 6'10", and I've noted the height of the top of the basement windows above grade, the grade line is 5 inches. So those are you're going to need to be able to locate the top of the windows accurately. Now notice all these elevations here. These are the elevations of the various chunks of the building. We're going to have a line going through on various chunks of the building because it gets energy modeled different. So this would be our first floor wall here, up from the first floor to the roof line. Then we have the thickness of the floor and the rim joists, which are these lines here. Then we start to get into the basement wall, but some of it is above ground, so that gets energy modeled different, so that's 8 inches below there. And then we have the top of the slab, and that's the bottom of our energy model here, so that would be our basement wall below grade. So that's where I'm getting these elevations that I'm putting on my instructions, how I figured out the height of how big to make all those thicknesses of the model. So then this sheet is our floor plans, and this is where we're going to get our dimensions for the shape of the floor plan of the house. So Josh wants us to model the building to the outside of the outside walls, so that's going to be these dimensions on the first floor. And then we need to also locate the windows. So there's two different ways of locating the windows, so I'm going to zoom in a bit here. So we can locate the windows to the center line, and that's what the blue dimensions that the designer gave. It might be easier for you to just locate the windows so you don't have to do the math to make sure you're in the center, is to locate the windows to the edge. And so I've given you some dimensions in red. So you don't have to use both. You either use the blue dimensions into the center of your windows that you make, or you use the red dimensions to the edge of the windows that you make. And then if you'll notice, if we go over here, I've got the location of the windows in the basement actually dimensioned to the edge because they weren't dimensioned at all in this one. And so we can ignore all the interior walls, all that other stuff. All we're working on is the outside walls. On this page here, the only thing that is of interest to us for energy modeling is our roof, how much overhang we have on the gable end and on the eaves end. So you can see here we have 2 feet on the eaves end and 1 foot on the gable end. And then the other thing that's of note here is the window schedule. So let's zoom in on that. So Josh is telling me that he wants to measure this. He wants to model this to the rough opening width of the windows. So here you can see the width that is on the plans is the window width, but Josh wants us to use the rough opening width. So the rough opening width is a 1/2 inch more in width, and the rough opening height is a 1/4 inch higher in height than are the dimensions that are noted on the plans. Because if you notice on the plans, these are not, these little dimensions he's got written down here are not rough openings. So we have to add a 1/2 to the width and a 1/4 to the height when we model it. And we'll get to that when we model the windows. Then on this page here, the only thing all these elevations are the same as we had before. So this is where I'm getting the same elevation dimensions for the thickness of the floor, the thickness of the wall, which you see is 8'1" and 1/8, and then the dimension from the top of the wall to the top of the slab. And I've also given you a dimension of the heel height of the roof, which I measured off of this as 1'2½". This page here is just foundation details, which we don't have to mess with at this point. Okay, I think that's enough for one video, so I'm going to stop and then we'll move on to actually modeling this in SketchUp.